This week on the Road Unfiltered Podcast, we have David Lehr, who is out on the road shooting video and editing all those crazy recaps you see on social media for Morgan Wallen. Welcome, dude.
What's up, man?
You can pull the mic closer if you
cool.
want there, too. You
know? Still got to get used to this.
I know. First podcast, you know? In person.
Yep.
So, dude, your work is amazing.
Thank you.
Seriously, like I love seeing all the young kids coming in and just crushing it, you know, and especially with you on like the biggest tour in the world right now, and that's, you know what I mean. It's like Morgan
crazy.
Is just massive,
yeah,
you know, and it's really cool to see an artist like Morgan, you know, just blow up in the last 6-7 years now, because you've been with him since when, like 2018?
Yeah, about 18.
Yeah,
toward the end.
What's your story, dude? I want to know.
Man,
where'd you come from, and how'd you get into all this? And
well, I grew up in Indiana. Have you ever been there?
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times. It's funny you say that, because Tyler Conrad's from Indiana.
That's right.
As well.
Yeah. We didn't know each other up there, but we had a lot of mutual friends, and and when we met down here, that was cool to figure that out. But yeah, I grew up there. I have a pretty heavy music background. That's kind of what got me into all this, just making music. And I was maybe trying to do an artist, been in a couple of bands. You know, we put out some music, but yeah, I mean, I just went to college up there, and after I graduated, I just kind of realized Indiana wasn't really doing anything too crazy with music. So I wanted to figure out a place to go, and I had a couple roommates, and we were either going to go to Orlando, LA, or Nashville, because we had some friends in Orlando. But we came to Nashville, visited, and man, it was just perfect.
It's like electric here.
Yeah,
man.
like the people. I mean, you know, it's just, it's a vibe, and it's beautiful. I love the mountains, the weather. I mean, it's just kind of perfect. So I had faked my pay stubs, and we got a house like the first weekend we visited, and it was awesome though. So
what year was that? That
would have been, man, probably 2015, 2016.
Gotcha.
Maybe 2015, yeah.
So were you like doing any camera work at all back, like when you were in Indiana?
A little bit. It was I went to school for music production, and during that time I was doing a lot of music production for clients, just around a lot of rappers and a lot of rock bands in Indiana. You know, just hourly stuff, come in the studio, track some stuff. And I had always had a camera, because I just kind of like a hobby. It's good to have a camera around, but I hadn't really dove into it a whole lot. But one of my rap clients saw it and was like, hey man, I mean, if I throw you $200, you want to just shoot me some performance shots and a music video, like whatever, you know, no big deal. And I was like, yeah. And I did that one, and it was just really fun. So I started doing more of them in Indy, just to make $200-$300 here and there, you know. And so when I moved to Nashville, it was kind of something like that. Like I had one client that I worked with down here, just would take pictures, but I had saved up a bunch of money, and just really didn't want to work the first year that I moved down here. I wanted to make music. So that's what I focused on the first year or two down here. Yeah. Before I started like trying to get a job, because, you know, music, we did it for a while, but it just, you know, things just don't make sense sometimes. Life doesn't work out that way, you know, but it's fun, you know.
Yeah. Well, I find too that like a lot of us creatives and videographers and photographers and stuff, I feel like we all come from some sort of music background. Yeah. You know, like playing instruments, and which is super, like, I feel is super great that, like, you know, when you edit something, you have this musical sense of like when to edit to a beat and stuff, you know.
That's huge.
Yeah. So like when you were doing music stuff, and like were you doing like editing to music videos or anything like that before you came down here at all? Or
I mean, it was just like those couple clients that I had that just wanted to get a quick music video. They were nobody was making money up there doing music, you know. So it was, but yeah, I mean, this is dabbling, and then when I moved here, it just kind of like.
What were you shooting with up there? What kind of camera?
I had my first camera I bought was a Canon 60D, the original one.
Right.
And I would rent a 6D sometimes, because it was cheaper than the 5D Mark II. And I would sometimes, if the client had the money, I'd get the 5D Mark II. Yeah. Or the Mark III when that came out. But yeah, it was a lot of the 60D.
Yeah. It was funny, because I had bought the Canon 5D Mark II. I was out on the road with Keith Urban at the time.
Oh, nice.
Back in,
it's a fire camera.
Oh, dude, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a game changer for like, obviously videographers and just touring people and stuff like that, just the look that you got out of it. Because like back before I got that, I was using like a Panasonic HVX 200, and those were the old like video, type things, I mean, they were great. They were great cameras, don't get me wrong, but man, when that 5D came out, that just like changed.
Was that one of the first ones that had video in SLRs?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, don't quote me on that. I don't know if it's the first one, but it was just the one that like, I felt like it was like affordable because you could do photo and video with it. And then I remember when it first came out, you could only shoot 30 frames a second on it.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember like people were trying to like try to jailbreak it and like,
That's
shoot
right.
24, you know what I mean? And then like all of a sudden Canon came out with the 24 update and everybody's like, oh my God, this is like game changer. But I remember remember the show 24?
Yeah. Oh, I love that show.
They shot an episode with a Canon the 5D Mark II.
No way.
Yeah.
I got to figure out which episode that was.
You got to check it out.
I probably watched it. I love that show.
It's pretty wild. Because but it's like, I feel like too, it's like, with that camera, like, everything got kind of, not like budgets got a little cheaper because the camera was a little bit cheaper though too, but and it was a little more accessible for a lot of people. Because I felt like everybody was like shooting on red and all that stuff, that these just like high-end cinema cameras at the time, and then all of a sudden this 5D comes in and it's like, it was a game changer.
Yeah, I mean the price and the size.
Yeah.
Because now you have people that, I feel like that opened the door for this content creator world, because it's, I use an A7S III Sony now because of how small it is, and it's so good in low light. I can bring that anywhere. If we go to a bar, I can feel good about it, but I don't always do that, but I can feel good, like it's not going to look like this big thing that draw a bunch of attention. You got
a discrete camera,
but it looks cinematic. It's same sensor as the FX3. It's fire.
It's so funny. We keep talking about like the Sony FX. Do you use that camera at all?
I've rented it a couple times for sure.
I tell you, dude, I'm like, we keep saying, I'm like, add to cart.
Yeah, I mean,
I just heard it's phenomenal.
They're great.
Because I use Canon. I use the R5s. I've got a couple of those, and then I use a lot of red stuff as well. I've been like a red user since like 2007.
I feel like that's unique. A lot of people try to stay away from it. I always loved the look of red, but so many people are like,
"Oh, dude, I don't know, man. It's from day one."
Yeah,
I had that big red 1 camera that was like 30 pounds. It was just like I didn't own it. A buddy of mine had one, so we would like take it out on the road, and it was just so heavy. Yeah, but the look was so insane.
They're crazy still. Yeah, they got a vibe.
Yeah. So, so you made it to Nashville, and then, like, what happened then, man?
Well, man, I mean, I blew through my savings after like a year and a half or so. So I started driving for Lyft a little bit, and one day I just got, like, I tried to go drive for Lyft, and it just popped up and was like, you can't drive. And they sent me a letter in the mail, said they kicked me off the platform because I had a speeding ticket from when I was like 16. It was like a week after I got my license, so I had to go to court for it when I was 16. And so they just switched security companies, decided to kick me off there. And then a couple weeks after that, I ended up getting scammed out of $7,000. I woke up one morning and looked at my bank account, and it said negative $6,900 and something dollars.
Oh my God.
And I just drove straight to the bank, and we got that reversed. I ended up having to pay all that back. It was a credit card scam, kind of a long story, but this guy duped me. It was crazy, but it was a learning experience for sure. But what's wild about that is because that happened, I was, I would tell people about that in a couple weeks after that. It's all happened real fast. And one of my friends, mutual friend, told somebody that story. They felt bad. They were like, that's crazy. So they brought me onto this behind-the-scenes music video shoot. They shoot BTS for this artist, April Cry. And her manager was the daughter of Lynyrd Skynyrd's new lead singer currently.
Gotcha.
And they needed a guy. So they loved what I did with April, so they brought me out to fill in for their guy with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and that's how this whole touring thing started. So if I hadn't gotten scammed out of money, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now talking to you.
It all works out somehow,
it's
right?
Wild.
So Lynyrd Skynyrd, was that like the first like kind of like tour thing you did?
Yeah, in Nashville. Yeah, that was the first photography video kind of touring gig I ever had done.
Gotcha. Did you travel at all with them at all?
Yeah, we did. I was filling in, so I wasn't like all the time, but I think I did like a 3-week run with them, and just a couple one-offs. You know?
Was that like your first bus tour?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
It was cool. I was with Peter Keys, their keyboard player, and I forget the backup singer. I forget her name. But they were cool. It was some really cool stories. And it was like I said, my first bus, so I was just like, where's the trash, you know?
Right, exactly. Where am I sleeping? Where am I putting my stuff?
I was so excited to get in my little bunk, you know.
Right. So that's kind of a funny one, because do you sleep better on a bus?
Definitely now. The beginning, definitely not. But yeah, now I do.
Dude, I sleep better on a bus than I do at home, man. I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just the road, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you get used to it. You get used to how you want to have it set up. It just becomes so comfy. You know?
Yeah. What was the first weekend like, being out on the road, like experiencing that?
Man, it was kind of a blur, because it was just it's hard to think back to that time, because I was so stressed out about money and just a couple other things going on in life. So doing that was like a blessing. It was like, I'm just so grateful to be here and be able to make a few $100s this weekend. It's like, so it was just, I was just eating it up, but it was really cool. It was just I was trying to just get as much content as I could, and I wasn't really sure what recaps were, and they weren't either. It was kind of just like they had seen the BTS I'd done for April, and they were like, that's pretty cool. Like, we've never really seen something like that. So it just turned into that. You know?
So it's funny, because like back then you didn't even know like recaps or like editing recaps, and now you're editing recaps that are just fire, dude.
Oh, thanks, bro. I mean, I think the first time I ever made a video that I was like, this could be a thing, because it felt like a recap, was I actually went on a cruise with my ex-girlfriend, and we had filmed the whole thing with a GoPro, and I had done some whip pans just accidentally, and I like pieced them together. I was like, that looks so dope. And then like we did this thing where we like threw the GoPro over the ocean, and it was just I was like, I could make this a thing. I think I showed a couple clients that video, because I was like, we could do this.
Yeah. Dude, that's so sick, man. So the Lynyrd Skynyrd thing, so you just kind of like went out and filled in and just did like a couple shows with them. Did you ever do more after that at all? Yeah,
they had brought me back the first weekend. It was just like one show, and then a couple weeks went by, and they brought me out for like the 3 weekends, and then there was one after that. But yeah, Dalton Sneddon, if you ever heard of him, he works with them, I think, still.
Gotcha. Dude, that's crazy to think like your first touring gig was just like a legendary act, dude, right? Like, what?
I mean, I didn't even really realize. I mean, I obviously knew Lynyrd Skynyrd, Sweet Home Alabama.
Exactly. So then, what happened after Lynyrd Skynyrd then?
So they didn't need somebody full time, but they were on the same management at the time as this duo called Low Cash. Have you ever heard of them?
Oh yeah. I know Chris really well.
Oh hell yeah,
he used to be my neighbor.
Oh wow, no, what a guy.
Yeah. So what year was this?
That would have been 2017, a little bit into 2018, I think. Or maybe that was just 2018 that I started with Low Cash, and it was 2017 with Skynyrd. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
because then I only was with them for like 7 or 8 months, and then I ended up quitting and accidentally kind of ran into Morgan because of a mutual friend. So just how it kind of worked out.
Gotcha. How did the Low Cash tour go? Was it just kind of like lessons? You just like kind of got out there and you like kind of learned more?
Totally. On the road? Definitely a huge learning experience. That's probably the best way to put it. Obviously any tour is going to have some highs and lows, but that was something I definitely, by the end of it, I was definitely questioning whether or not I wanted to do touring at all, for sure. But then meeting Morgan's team, they're like my best friends in the whole world now. They're my brothers. So I'm so glad I stuck it out, because touring can get tough sometimes in certain situations. So it's, it was cool to get with them.
Well, I feel like those paths just kind of like lead you to something next. You know what I mean? And like having that, and just having that history with just working with other people, obviously it's gotten you where you're at now, So how did you meet Morgan after the Low Cash stuff?
So I was just, I had gotten into my buddy Matt Pasker. That's what it was.
That's awesome.
Matt Pasker, you know who that is?
I need to have him on this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. So he was working with Jake Owen at the time, and he needed some, Big Loud had asked him about somebody for Morgan. I had never heard of Morgan, but he referred me for that. Right. So then they reached out to me, just wanted me to come in and meet Morgan, and I had listened to Whiskey Glasses for the first time on the way down to meet him. I'd never heard his music. I think I'd heard Up Down. I just thought it was a Florida Georgia Line song, honestly. And it's funny to think about that now. But.
I know. I remember that. I remember when that song was out, and I was like, "Damn, what's this? Something's about to happen here."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
It's one of my buddies shot that video. Dylan Schneider, I think it was. Yeah, Dylan Schneider shot that with Morgan, and he was showing me the video, and I'm like, "Oh man, this dude." There's something happening.
Yeah.
Or there's something that's gonna happen.
Can't see it in the moment, but it's crazy how things play out sometimes.
I know. So then you went over to Big Loud, and then you were on your way, and you were listening to Whiskey Glass, and then what happened? You met him, and
yeah, I met Morgan, and we got along, and that was what we talked about. I think was just like the biggest thing is that we get along well because they liked what I'd done with Low Cash and Skynyrd, so that they weren't too concerned about whether or not they were going to like what I did. Yeah. They knew we were going to learn together and figure that out, but we just had to get along, and we got along great. We had one bus at the time, so it was just a different time back then.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, totally. Everybody's on the bus. Everybody has to live together.
11 people.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been there.
But it was fun. The first weekend out, I remember, I'll never forget it because we were all in the back lounge, all of us, the whole band, and Morgan and Cody and merch. Cody was doing merch at the time. And we played, we were just singing songs, and there was literally no room to hold a guitar because we were so packed in the back lounge. So, and there was a guitar on the wall. So me and Dom, who's like my best friend in the whole world, he plays guitar for Morgan, played Wonderwall. And we all sang it, but the guitar was hanging on the wall. I was strumming. He was doing the chords. It was awesome.
That's so funny. That's awesome. Those are the best stories, man.
Yeah.
Those best road stories. So gear-wise at that point, are you still in that same what you had?
Yeah, I had a Sony A7S II. Someone had gotten for me as a gift. And yeah, I was just slinging it, No, autofocus was not a thing.
Were you doing any gimbal work at all at that point?
Yeah, I don't remember when I got my first gimbal because I had started with the glide cam when I would do music videos in Indy. I got like a knockoff glide cam because it was cheaper. But I can't remember when I first got a gimbal. It was a Zion crane, I remember.
Gotcha. Yeah. Game changer out on the road, man.
Oh yeah, I had used Ronins, like the original Ronins before that, but I didn't really like using them.
Yeah. So then Morgan going out on the road and like give me a little bit of that whole like progression, because from where he was to where he's at now is just mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
And you've gotten to be there pretty much since day one, and to see this whole thing. I mean, dude, the biggest tour in the world, Tell me about it, man.
I'm just so proud of that guy. But man, I mean, nobody could have predicted it. We all loved Morgan. That was one thing I knew about meeting him. I was like, I want to work with this guy because he's such a good singer. I mean, you hear him sing just in the room, and it's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? Like, it's crazy. So, we all believed in him. Everybody would say that, I think, in the band for sure. And just, you never would have thought. We all thought it would get big, but like, to this level, it's just like there's not a way to predict that,
Yeah. So the first tour that you did with him, what kind of walk me through a little bit of that, because like, you guys were doing kind of like club stuff, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the venues had less than 1,000 people, but it was like always sold out, no matter if it was 500 people or 2,000, and everybody was singing every word, every moment. It was like, I kind of miss those days sometimes because
there's something cool about the intimacy of those clubs, man.
And Morgan could just get in the crowd and hang out, or hang out at the bar after or before, and it wasn't that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like now it's just like, you're going to cause a problem,
Yeah, exactly. What was your vision like out, like doing all those club things when you were doing like recaps or photos or anything like that? What was your kind of like mindset on what you wanted to get for him?
I mean, it was kind of a learning experience, man. I couldn't really pinpoint a plan with that kind of thing because it was like, shoot the show, make it look awesome. We were doing the recap after every single show, so I would stay up after every show and edit a recap, usually by that, and have it sent so he could post it in the morning or like later in the afternoon the next day.
Would you do just like a recap for one show?
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, but that's the thing. Morgan's shows like are so hype. It was just kind of fun, and I got in a flow. I learned everything in Premiere, but I started editing in Final Cut at that time, and it was just so fast to render and edit. Like I was getting recaps, full minute recaps done in like under an hour. It was just amazing. It's just because it was just piece the stuff together. The music's already done. Like you just kind of
get the moments.
Yeah, I would just ask Morgan what song he wanted to use, or just pick through the songs I liked.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And it's funny because you're like back with Lynyrd Skynyrd, you're like recap, and now here you are pulling recaps after every show. Were you doing it after every single show?
Yeah, pretty much. Man. At that point. Yeah, there was a couple shows we wouldn't here and there, and then at some point we noticed we just felt like it was getting monotonous, and so we were just like, let's dial it back a little bit, try to make
and
take
you
some
were
more
doing
time
photos
with it.
too, right?
Yeah, I really hadn't had a second shooter until this last year in 2023. I actually got to bring Matt back out. It was cool, full circle.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, like with your workflow on that back then, obviously doing photos and video, would you just like tell me that like after a show you would just jump on the bus or jump backstage or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, we were all having a good time for sure, drinking and stuff too, but it was like just hanging out on the bus, just looking at photos. I mean, a lot of times I'd be sitting there with Morgan, like, look at this one. And it's like, it's cool, Now it's just like I go edit in my bunk nowadays most of the time. But, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
We were
I remember that when I was out with Chris Young, Chris would like kind of stand behind me and look at photos, and I'd just be like, dude, look at this. It
was fun, And
yeah.
Sometimes I think about it, like, I don't know if you've ever thought this, but when you're picking photos, and I'll take 3,000 photos in a show, right? And it's like you send maybe 100 at most, and then it's like I think about it sometimes. This is what keeps me up at night. Like, what photos didn't I pick that Morgan would have loved? Yeah. Because there was times when we would be on the bus together back then that I would think this is not the photo, and he would be like, wait, what was that one? Yeah. And I'm like, right? You just can't predict what people are gonna like.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I tour with Carrie Underwood, and I'll fire off probably about 200 to 2,500 photos a night, of her show, and I'll turn in about anywhere between like 40 to 50 photos a night. But then I kind of have a bet with myself. I'm like, okay, which ones is she going to choose? Because she posts probably about 10 photos after every show, and I'm like sitting there going, man, there's some times where I was kind of iffy on one shot, and I'm like, I'll just turn it in. And then it's like the first one that she posts.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
I've had that happen too, for sure.
It's just, you never know, you never know. But now you guys are in the club tour, and everything's just like starting to get crazy, I bet, with his career. And so tell me a little bit more about how because when was that? That was when you started with him, and when?
2018 into 2019. The 2019 was the first full year.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that was just bonkers. I mean,
yeah.
And it was, you could tell it was a steady growth, by I think at the top of the year we were doing like 1,000 cap, 2,000 cap most venues, and then by the end it was like 4,000 or 5,000.
Were you out? You guys were out with Luke Combs at some point, right?
Yeah, I want to say that was. Yeah, that had to have been in 2019. Yeah. And then we were with Jason Aldean in the beginning of 2020 as well. Gotcha. When COVID happened. Yeah. We were out with Aldean.
So you probably met David Bergman then out with Luke Combs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, David's great.
He's awesome.
He's
awesome guy.
Dude, like, explorer of light.
Yeah, dude.
He's like an ambassador, man.
Yeah.
It's like there's not that
Such
many
a good
of those.
dude, too.
He's so great. Man.
David actually told me about silent shutter being an issue at shows. So like I thought I was slick with my silent shutter all the time back when I started with Morgan, and I was like just noticing though during the shows, like I would see this banding, and I didn't know that that's a thing with when you don't use the mechanical shutter. And I was just asking David about it when one of the first times I met him, and he told me that. So I'll never forget that.
That's so
shout out David Bergman. Made my photos not have banding.
I bet that was pretty cool though to have him out on the road to kind of like almost like a mentor in a way too. Because his shots, dude. I mean, he's shot some legendary stuff. Bon Jovi and all that, and obviously the Luke Combs stuff. So then you're through 2019. You're doing all the tour stuff with Morgan, and you're putting out recaps, putting out killer stuff. 2020 hits. Then what? Because 2020 was wild for everybody.
Well, and at the end of 2019, we were out in Phoenix, and I broke my back.
Oh shit!
I flipped a 4-wheeler.
What?
It was just like off days that we had. So when COVID hit, I was just like, I was not in pain anymore from that, but I was just like sitting on my ass at my house for like a month, and I was like, I need to work out, and I worked out really hard one day during COVID, and I just messed my back up so bad. And I turned to like a whole year and a half, like through COVID, it was just like extreme back pain too.
Oh man.
So COVID was crazy for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, what happened? What was the process of that, of getting back into that? Because, like, with a broken back, man, like traveling a lot, and like we have to move around a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I lucked out because the part of my vertebrae, it was two of the vertebrae, like the little fins that come off the side. Those are the parts that broke, and they don't support a lot of weight. So that's why I was able to recover, and like I could move, but it was the movement that would hurt. Like just sitting or whatever was fine. Yeah. So it was just a lot of just trying to work out.
What did you do
to break it? Yeah, I flipped a 4-wheeler. Yeah, we were. There's 4 of us went out in the desert. And there was all this dust kicking up in front of me. Morgan's bus driver was in front of me, and
so you were out with like all of them.
Well, Morgan had flown back. It was like we had like 4 off days in Phoenix, so like a bunch of the guys had gone home. Just Morgan had gone home. I forget why, and maybe the studio, and then everybody allowed. So it was just 4 of us out there.
Yeah,
and it was all this dust kicking up, and there was this sand dune that I didn't see, and my front right tire fell over it, and I pulled the left side to try to get back on track, and it just pulled it on top of me, and it slammed me into the ground, burned my leg.
Damn, dude. Damn.
Had to get
that's crazy.
When I first stood up from it, I was like, man, I think I'm good. Like I felt stiffness, but then when I took one step, it was like someone stabbed me in the back. I've never felt pain like that. Have you ever broken a bone?
No.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, man. Damn.
I hadn't either. That was my first time breaking a bone. So
yeah, fuck, man, that's crazy. So then, obviously, 2020, we're all shut down. I feel like a lot of content creators and like a lot of videographers and photographers, we were the only kind of like communication in a way, like between an artist and a fan. So we would like shoot live streams, we'd shoot like all these different other things. Did you get involved with any of that stuff?
Oh yeah, well, I kind of forgot about that until you said it, but yeah, we did several of those.
It was a wild time, that's why.
Oh yeah, I remember meeting up and setting up my phone, and we did one for SiriusXM at my house actually. We did that, and after that night we tracked the demo for Wonder About the Wind at my house. It was pretty cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, we did a bunch of that.
So does Morgan know that you have like musical sense and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Because we started doing one day I was like worried about the videos getting monotonous, like I'd said earlier. We had talked about it, and I was just worried about that for my job's sake, and I wanted Morgan to feel good about what we're posting, So I tried doing a remix of one of his songs. I had all the stems, and I was kind of nervous because like I'd never done that for him before, and I sent it, and he was like, "This is so sick" or something. So like that turned into the whole thing, and now it's like every video we got to do a remix.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's amazing how that happens, So, so coming out of 2020, like tell me kind of like what was happening like at the end of 2020 when everything started to just kind of like come back, because I know like there was a lot of stuff that happened. There was a lot that we won't talk about the Morgan stuff, but I just know that like he shut down, the world shut down, everything was kind of like in this weird moment, and then all of a sudden he just like blew up. Like it was almost like a night and day, and it's just like the biggest selling album, like all this stuff, and like what happened with all that? Because now you're like with the biggest country star in the world right now, dude.
It's crazy. He's still just Morgan to me, and I think that's something to be said about Morgan, not to like gas him up too much. I love that dude though. But it's he's a good guy, and I think that's when he got put in front of the world at this massive scale, people saw the good in him, I think, and he's just such a good dude. So like when you can't deny it when you spend time with him, So I think once everybody saw him, they just saw how awesome he was. He's got great music, he's got a great voice. It's like it's awesome.
You know Spidey, right?
Oh yeah.
I always like look at Spidey's stuff, and he shot, I guess, the album cover and stuff like that. Were you there for that when all that happened?
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Were you shooting like BTS and stuff on that?
Yeah, I was getting a bunch of video we used for some lyric videos and some content on the screens and stuff at the shows.
Spidey's great, man. Him and I like kind of go back like in the same kind of like era ish. We both kind of started out in those mid 2000s.
When did you first meet Spidey?
I met. It's funny. I knew him as Spidey, but I knew him back in the day as Ryan Smith. So I'd always kind of like see his work. And then him and I connected when I directed a couple music videos for Cameron Marlowe. And then I met him at a Cameron Marlowe show, probably, I would say maybe like 3 years ago. And we just connected it, and we're like, dude, we got to like get together. We got to like grab coffee or something. And we just never really did. And then I ran into him again, and then I ran into him again. And then like he reached out. He's like, dude, you got to get on the podcast, because I feel like him and I are just going to like just banter about it's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
Know? But I just love his work, because he like all that Yellow Wolf stuff that he does. It's just like, oh my God, sick. Man. And just everything that he's, had his hand in is just so great.
Always awesome.
Yeah. Who did you work with anybody else in the time, like in the Morgan time at all?
Yeah. So in 2021, I worked with Kane Brown's team. I have a really good friend, Joey Russ, that I met when I first moved here, and I just needed some work, and Morgan wasn't doing much, and so I worked with their team, a band called Restless Road with them a lot, and artist Dylan Schneider with them. They had several artists I'd go out and shoot, but
gotcha.
Yeah,
you go out on the road with them too.
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot of in-town stuff, and then we'd go out and.
See, that's the great thing about Nashville, man. It's like you're doing work and just all the connections. It's just such a little family here in Nashville. And it really is a great people and great surroundings. You know, and it's like, hey, you need a gig? It's like, oh, hey, come out with this artist. There's so many artists in Nashville. You could do so much work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what I tell video people when they message me. It's like a lot of times people are coming from a small town and it's the middle of nowhere, and it's like that was a big step for me getting out of Indiana. Like, I can't lie. Like, I wasn't even trying to do video, you know? So I couldn't even imagine if I was trying to do it. Like, I could see why you'd want to stay in your town, but it's like,
you got to make the move.
Yeah, I think your best bet's to go for high schools and stuff at that point if you're going to stay there, because it's not going to be anything musically is going to be happening a lot of times.
Exactly. Dude, it's like I get so many DMs from people. Obviously I use my Instagram for, a lot of the work that I do. I rarely post personal stuff on there, and I get so many messages of like, how do I get your job? I want your job. I'm going to have your job one day, and it's like, yeah, this is great. And it's so hard to kind of like respond to people and be like, well, this is what you got to do. So then I came up with this idea. I was like, man, I got to just do a podcast. And we bring everybody in, because I want to hear all the stories, like how you got in, how they got in, all this stuff. And it's like, it's because everybody's got a different story about it, of how they did it. But it's like, getting to Nashville and being present and being around the people and working with people and like offering to work for free, if you can, and just doing as much as you can to get noticed in Nashville. Because I feel like in Nashville, I always say this, it's like your work's going to get you there, but your relationships are going to keep you there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's like, this is kind of like my answer to all the DMs is this podcast.
I mean, I love that. I mean, whenever I think the hardest part of trying to answer people is you just don't know their story. Yeah. So when I do, I always try to get to know where they're at. I'm like, what are you trying to do? You know, you just message me like, I want your job. Like, what are you really trying to do? You know, like, because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got this job. So
yeah, exactly.
There's just no answer to that.
So Morgan comes back. He's back out on the road, and you go back out with him, right?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. We're definitely down. I remember those rehearsals. Things were just completely different, because we had came off Jason Aldean before COVID, and we had 2 buses and a trailer, and it's we come back, we have 5 semis and 4 buses or something. I mean, I might have been more buses, I can't remember, but we had like 30, 40 people, employees now. It was like, whoa, major. Like security team and all. It was just lots of growth all of a sudden. So we were kind of thrown into it, but it was fun because we had seen it with Jason Aldean and Luke Combs. And it was just cool for the band. Just cool for the band, I think, too, to be in that spot, and because they had been treated great most of the time, but sometimes they'd get treated badly from the higher up artists, and so they are such good people, the band, so they just love the opportunity to just be nice to everybody.
Yeah, I see all your photos of the band guys.
I love them.
They're so sick, dude.
Oh, thanks, Doc.
I love taking photos of the band guys because it's like they're always kind of like in the shadows. They never really get the recognition. So it's like when you could get them a photo or two, it's it's cool for them.
You can get those vibey shots too, since it's not always a spotlight on them. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys were in production rehearsals for the tour. Then did you guys went into arenas, right? Or did you guys go straight into stadiums?
No, it was arenas for sure. Yeah,
gotcha.
When we first came back, like basketball arenas mainly.
So did you have a new vision? Obviously it's like you're in a club, you're doing 1,000 people, and you're shooting and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden you're forced into an arena. And obviously you guys did arenas with Luke Combs and Jason, but there's a little bit of a restriction for photographers and videographers as an opening act.
Yeah, luckily everyone was always super cool about that because I knew Bergman and I knew Justin Mirzak.
Yeah, Justin's on this too.
Oh, I love Justin. I haven't seen him or talked to him in a long time, but I love that dude.
Yep.
But yeah, he was out with Aldine, and they were just always so cool about things. But Morgan's show was so short in comparison to how it is now. So that was the tough part with those shows. So coming back when we were doing this headlining arena tour, it was I was pretty stoked because I'm gonna have an hour or more to shoot Morgan. It's this is awesome. And because at a show like that, I know there's other artists that have this energy, but every moment and any angle you get, something awesome's going on at a Morgan show. It's crazy. So I just can't imagine going out and if you can't kill it, then you probably shouldn't be doing video because it's not that hard in my opinion. You just get as much content as you can. Every show's different, and it's hard to plan them because you don't really know what's going to happen. I think the planning comes into play when you're there that day or the day early, and you walk around the venue, get your routes down, but you don't know what's going to happen. When you find your routes, you might get up to the top, and you can't get through there anymore once the show started or something. So you got to be flexible and work on your feet and just kind of follow the moment.
Dude, I love that you say that you get your routes because I do the same thing every morning. Man. When we're in an arena, dude, first thing I do, I go to catering, I grab a coffee, and I go walk. And I just go see, because you know how it is in different arenas. It's maybe you can't get up this way, you can't get up this way. So it's you got to study it a little bit, because if you kind of go in a little blind on that, you're like, fuck, I want to go get this shot, but I can't get up there. How am I getting up there, and where can I go? And every arena is different.
Right.
So I feel like that's a big thing for these people that are starting off and they're jumping into an arena or something, or even amphitheaters or anything. Find your routes in the morning.
Amphitheaters can be crazy because everyone's a little bit they're all the same but a little bit different, so it can be really easy to get out in the crowd, or it can be really freaking difficult.
Exactly It's funny because when I was out, I toured a lot with Carrie Underwood, like I said, but it's she's got this huge massive production, kind of the same thing as Morgan, where it's a lot of fire, a lot of pyro, and all he does have pyro, right?
Oh
yeah.
I'm gonna have to bring you out this year.
I know, seriously. And it was really funny because David Bergman always will text message me. He goes, your photos are so awesome. He goes, man, I wish I had pyro.
I always thought, I wish Luke Combs did fire. That'd be sick.
Right. But yeah, you're right, because it's Carrie will be on stage for an hour and 30, hour and 45 minutes, and it's there's so much going on. So it's if you're out there and you're not capturing great stuff with all these elements that you could, it's you shouldn't be doing.
When I have to go to the bathroom, I'm like, oh, shit.
I know.
That sounds so sick.
I know. I know. Well, there's another artist that I'll go out on the road with, and it's Megan Maroney.
Oh,
and it's she has, when she did Brooks and Dunn last year, it was I think she only had 20 minutes. So it's oh my God, okay, I've got 20 minutes.
What are you going to do? Sometimes it's daylight.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I got to try and get whatever I can, but that's the challenge. And that's what's kind of cool, because if you're with, if anybody's watching this that is with an opening act, it's you learn, what you can and what you're kind of capable of with an opening act in 20 minutes to get it. Because when that artist catapults into a headline artist and you have an hour and a half, think about all the shit you're going to be able to get, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
So, but you're on the road, obviously, with Morgan, this arena tour, and then you guys jump to stadiums.
Yeah, dude. Because I guess that would have been.
That's the pinnacle of touring, dude.
We came back in 2022. We did the arena tour, and then in 2023, it was baseball stadiums and a couple football stadiums, like SoFi. can't remember the other one.
Man. I'm from LA. I've never been to SoFi yet.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
I know, that's
nuts.
what I heard.
Very sick venue though. Very clean and just
So
super
how
cool.
are the stadium shows? What was it like for you? Because that's a lot of walking.
Yeah, I mean.
So did you bring Matthew out for those?
Oh yeah, Mac was out. I forget which month it was this last year in 2023, but it had to have been like May or June or something. But he's just doing photos mainly. We kind of dabbled with doing a mix of both, but it makes more sense to have us just focusing on one. I usually do both still, but just having him do photos is huge. But yeah, with video at SoFi, I had 2 extra shooters as well for video. We were just hiring locally kind of thing. And we had they had one of the guys had a red, and so we upgraded the gear for that for those shooters. Try to get some more cinematic kind of stuff,
Yeah. What's one of your favorite venues? What's one that just stands out?
The one that always stands out is Watershed.
It's so funny. So many people say that.
Oh yeah,
I know.
I mean, there's really nothing I've seen like it.
There's just something about it, man. And it's funny because the energy of the crowd at Watershed, because I'm sure he was probably headlining, right?
Yeah. The last time we went, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, just the crowd is so insane. Did you ever go out into the parking lot where they're all partying?
Oh yeah, we went out with BOC in a cart and drove around.
Yep. Dude, you see some stuff out there that
I mean, any of those festivals, man, that's where it can get crazy. I learned about beer darts. Have you ever heard of that? So I forget where we were at, but we were at some festival. And the way, you know how darts works, right? You know how beer pong works, but we're outside in a tailgate situation. Everyone's sitting in this massive circle, bigger than this room, in lawn chairs, and there's a bunch of beers sitting in the middle of like a campfire of beers, just not on fire, just huge mound of beer cans. And I'm like, what is this? Like, someone's got to explain this to me. And everybody's got their own beer can, and you have like 3 or 4 darts in rotation, and you take turns trying to throw the dart at each other's cans sitting right next to your feet. And a lot of these people out here barefoot.
Oh, God.
I played a couple rounds. I had one in my shoe for sure.
Oh, my God.
It's just a ridiculous game, but that's what you find in the parking lots.
Exactly. You find the craziest shit in festival parking lots, man. It's wild. I mean, it's country fans, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's fun, though. I can't lie.
Yeah. But that Watershed, it's like I mean, there's probably a lot of people that don't know what Watershed is, but it's up in George Washington.
Yep.
It's like... it's a festival ground, and
it's on a canyon.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did one. It's crazy.
I did one year. I was with Billy Currington at the time, and I think he was out there with McGraw, and one of the guys, or I guess there was a local guy that had a helicopter, and I have video footage of this. This is crazy. This guy brought me on a helicopter, and he took me all the way around and down in the river. So if you remember where the golfing was in backstage, you'd hit out into the canyon, this guy took me down, and we were doing this all through the canyon and stuff. I got video. I got to show it on this. But that was my first Watershed experience. I'm like, oh my God, man, I got to come back. This place is badass.
I should have tried to get him to do that, because we went out to the helicopter place the last time we were there, and I was just asking if we could fly during the show.
Oh yeah.
But they weren't going to do that, so I just gave up. But I guess I could have taken it maybe to fly around. That would have been fun. I don't think we had time.
Awesome. It was so awesome. I'm definitely going to put that clip in this podcast.
Yes, you should.
See.
Yeah.
But what else? What other venues? I mean, man. Watershed is like amazing. So if we killed that off the list, then what would you?
It's gotta be Wrigley Field was pretty sick.
Oh my God, dude! I've never done a show at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, that's
never have.
I feel like I've never even heard of that. I guess they do them at baseball fields, but it's just I've never even thought about going to one at a baseball field. But that was super cool. The baseball stadium setups are kind of wild every time. They're a little bit different, but. I loved it.
Who was on that one? I mean, it's obviously Morgan. Who else was?
Oh man, they had switched it out a few times, but the whole year it was like a rotating Hardy, Bailey Zimmerman, Ian Mensah came out a few times. I know I'm forgetting people. I feel bad now.
It's all good.
But yeah, mainly and Ernest. Duh, love Ernest.
Yeah. Damn, man, Wrigley Field. Did you ever do Fenway?
I was supposed to go to Fenway, but my birth mom, I was adopted. My birth mom actually passed away this year. There in 2023 in August. I missed those shows, but
man, that sucks, dude.
yeah, it was crazy.
Damn.
It's still kind of unreal for sure.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
It was August 4th.
Oh man, I'm sorry, dude. Damn. We'll pull away from that a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, because I lost my mom in 2016.
Oh,
so
sorry to hear that.
so I know exactly how it feels. But so stadium tour, and then these recap videos that I've seen from you coming out of these shows, dude, are just so insane.
Appreciate
like,
it, man.
you got to tell me like a little bit about, because it's like, there's a lot of like these like Spencer Miller, and it's like
I know Spencer. He's
Spencer's
awesome.
a badass,
Yeah.
dude, and that's another one that I want on this show too.
Yeah, dude, you should
But
get him.
tell me a little bit about that process, because now your editing is like kind of going to the next level. So
Thanks, man.
Because I mean obviously like stuff like that's not like just like an overnight edit, or is it?
Well, sometimes, a lot of times, man, you've brought up planning, like how do you think about stuff earlier in this, and like going into a show, it's hard to plan stuff, but nowadays after, it's kind of like, I have to kind of think about it, how I want to tackle the edit, because I could just sit there and like keep throwing clips at stuff and trying things, but a lot of times it works better if I kind of have a plan after the show of what I'm gonna do, and usually it starts with the music. So the first thing I'm even doing is making a remix or something, and trying to fit that into a minute and a half or whatever time I want to make it, and then piecing video to that. But it's like I want to know if I'm gonna do 3D photos, or like if I make some crazy effect in the audio, like I'm gonna do something with that. That's why I put it in there. So just kind of sitting on it. Sometimes playing GTA is a really huge part of editing. So.
Right. So tell me a little, what do you use for all the 3D photo stuff? What kind of programs are you using?
That's all the 3D photos. It's going to be all Photoshop and After Effects, and then I do all my main editing in Final Cut still. And I do most of the stuff in there. Like really, you can. There's a lot of plugins you got to get to make Final Cut work the way I like it. But it's you can do some crazy stuff. But 3D photos you got to do After Effects.
Final Cut.
I mean, I got into it.
Because I used to work 10, or are you using like old
no
Final
10
Cut?
I never used the old one.
Really?
So I got into Final Cut because I used to work at the Apple store up in Indiana when I was in college, and I would do trainings on Final Cut and Logic and all the iMovie and all that stuff. And so I just learned. I'd never even used Final Cut 9 or whatever, and I learned 10 because that was right when it came out. And I loved the magnetic timeline. I love everything about Final Cut, but I know it's really controversial. So.
Well, it's really funny you say
and
that because I was in Final Cut in the beginning. When I first started doing this, and I was cutting everything in Final Cut, and then all of a sudden it went to 10, and I was like, whoa, what happened?
Is this
here?
iMovie? Like,
it was like an enhanced version of iMovie to me. That's what I felt like.
Really, it was. I think.
Yeah, because like I was using 7, I was like, I had my flow, and I was like, I knew how to work it, and and all this, and just like get through all my stuff, and then all of a sudden this came out, and I was like. And I feel like a lot of editors were a little kind of like bothered by that.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I gotta kind of move forward here. So I went to Premiere. Oh yeah. And I started using Premiere.
And that's where I learned everything. That's how back in Indy when all those videos I was talking about, that was all Premiere for sure.
Yeah. And then you went back to Final Cut.
I'd never used it until when I was working at Apple. But I had heard all the things about how people didn't like it, and so I was just like, well, I probably don't want to ever use it, but it's, I'm teaching it to people in the Apple store, so I ended up using it. I was like, it's pretty cool. Like, I don't know. And then I looked up a couple of projects that were done with Final Cut. I was like, all right, there's nothing wrong with this program at all. It's great. But I know that program like nothing else. So it's crazy. Like I understand the downside, so there is a time and a place to jump out of it, but it just depends what you're doing.
Have you used DaVinci yet?
A little bit. I dabbled. I want to because I do like the AI features they got, the tracking features they got. Look really sick, but honestly I can get away. I do so much of that already, and it's like, well, this is working great, I'm not necessarily gonna just switch.
I know. I was using Premiere for a while after that switch over from Final Cut, and a buddy of mine who's an editor, he's like, dude, you got to try DaVinci.
Is that what you use more now?
Well, now I do.
Yeah, okay,
because it was funny because like I was doing all my Rode stuff on Premiere, you know, and I was just like, it was so easy, you know. It was like I came off Final Cut because I felt like if you knew Final Cut, you could dive into Premiere. It's really easy and transition's not that hard. And then all of a sudden, like, my buddy's like, dude, you got to try DaVinci. I'm like,
dude, using DaVinci nowadays is like, you put the shades on, you light up your cigar. Like, I use DaVinci, dog. Yeah. Like, that's what it feels like.
Right.
And then I'm sitting over here with my rainbow hat with the little, you know, spinner on top. I use Final Cut.
That's pretty funny. But then I jumped over to DaVinci on it was like at the beginning of a tour, so I didn't want to like go like mid-tour, like all of a sudden switch over to something. But I went to DaVinci and I never used Premiere again.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. So
yeah, I was
I
like,
might need
wow,
to try
this is easy. You know, I just felt like it was like really cool because you had your color, you had all these like audio and everything, you know. And I don't do a lot of like After Effects work. Mm-hmm. I kind of leave that to other people to do. You know,
I do like After Effects.
I just, man, I never had the patience for it.
That was the first program I ever learned.
Really?
I pirated it when I was like 16, like one of the OGs, like before they had Creative Cloud or any of those.
Yeah, I feel like
CS2.
I feel like that's kind of a note to like people that, you know, want to do this. Learn After Effects.
Oh yeah,
learn it like right off the bat.
Just learn. Honestly, I tell people. I was just telling Rachel D. We were talking about it yesterday, and I was like, just learn the camera, the 3D camera. Yeah, that's all I ever opened to After Effects for nowadays. There's no text effects and transition that I can't do in Final Cut that I could do in After Effects. So it's really just 3D camera stuff.
Yeah, because some of that 3D stuff that I see on your work, dude, is just so badass, man. Just those
After Effects is just such a cool program, and what you can do with Photoshop now, you can separate those layers so fast. It's just like, because that was always the long part, is like with 3D
actually
photos,
having to go in and like cut everything out. Yeah, now you can just hit a button, it cuts it right out.
Filled in the background. It's just, you can make new elements that are foreground. It's like, whoa, okay, sick. I just made an AI arm of a fan, and it looks great.
Right. Right. I know that tripped me out when Photoshop came out with the AI stuff. I was like, I was in London about a year and a half ago, and I was just taking kind of photos of just stuff, random street stuff. And when that whole thing came out, when it said to generate, you know, background stuff, and like it filled in the photo, and I was like, how the do you know what was there, or it was the craziest thing to me. And I was like showing people on the road, and I'm like, they're like, wait, what? Yeah, you know, what is this? And it just keeps getting better and better. It's scary, but it's, you know, it kind of makes our job. I got a couple apps on my
phone. You can take stuff out.
Oh, exactly. It's wild, man. It's wild. What do you use for photo editing?
So I always used Lightroom, but I actually switched to Capture One.
Oh, really?
This in 2023, and I tell this to everybody now, especially if you use Sony and you use Lightroom, download the trial of Capture One, put a raw photo in it, unedited, open that same raw photo in Lightroom, unedited, and look at them. They're going to look completely different, and you decide which one you like better. I'll leave it up to you. But
interesting.
Sony is the colors. Everybody talks about it. Yeah. Canon's better, right? But that Capture One has fixed that issue. I love Sony's greens, and I love Sony's purples. Really? I used to hate them. Now they look amazing. You still see green, but it looks beautiful. It's a totally different science on how they do the conversion from, you know, into the computer.
Yeah. I use Capture One for when I do photo shoots. Like in the studio.
I just did that for the first time the other day. It was sick.
Yeah, but I use Lightroom. I mean, I've always been a Lightroom person, but that's interesting to say.
You shoot Canon now, so you probably have nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't checked it on a Canon. I'm sure they have to look a little different if Sony's that drastic. So I'd be curious if you pulled up the same photo, just look at it and see what the differences are.
That would be cool to test.
It's really easy to test, you know.
Yeah. But that's so wild. Yeah, because I don't know. I've always been a Lightroom guy, just from like obviously being a Canon user. But like just the cataloging and everything is just so
better.
easy.
It's definitely better.
I could just pop in and be like, oh, cool, yeah, March 15th show or whatever, and it's like there's all my selects and everything. Yeah, you know, I just love that. But
if I had my laptop and showed you one of my photos from Sony, you would be like, yep, I would have to use Capture One as well. I guarantee you, it's just that much better. It's not like wild. A little difference. It's like I have to use this program.
Yeah, because I feel like you're right. You know, I feel like there is a little bit of that difference between the Canon color the Nikon color and the Sony
Oh, there definitely
color.
is.
And
Sony's definitely always had the bad rep in that equation, for sure.
Yeah, but then when it's like video, the video just looks insane.
I mean, you're shooting S-Log, you can do whatever you want with that color. You're good.
So have you used the FX3? I know
I've used the 6 and the 9 more than I have the 3. I've never really seen an incentive to get the 3 to rent it because I have an A7S3. It's literally the same sensor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the FX series for sure.
What lenses do you have for the Sony?
I have G Master 1635. That's my go-to, and then I have a Tamron 28-75 and a 70-200, the new one, Mark II. Yeah, I just got that one finally. I was always renting it. Yeah.
Do you just use one camera when you're out there?
Yep. In 2022, I rented 2 cameras. I had an R5 actually most of the year, along with my Sony. What do you think of it? It's an awesome camera, but I do video, so it's tough. It doesn't look bad. It looks awesome for video, but it's just not the same as Sony. And I'm always down to learn a new menu system, so that doesn't ever scare me, but I didn't really like their menu system, to be honest. I could have gotten used to it, I'm sure, but compared to what I love about this new, specifically in the A7S3 and their newer A7 series, is like the menu system's just fire. I mean, it's awesome.
Has it changed a lot?
From the 2, yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's totally different. Any of the old 7 series, or the Alpha series,
Did they kind of like go kind of towards the Cine series like that, or did they change that?
I think the Cine one is still different, even from that, because they just have different settings laid out. But I think the way the tabs are similar. Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because it's like one of the camera that's shooting VR over here. That's the Canon R5C.
Yeah,
that's that version of it.
And I'd rented that one as well sometimes.
And it's wild because like their video settings are completely different looking. Yeah. Like it's almost like the Canon line, correct?
The cinema line.
Yes, the cinema line.
C70 has the same.
Yeah. But like then you shift it over into photo and it's like an R5.
Yeah,
like no difference at all.
No, I tried that out, and I kind of hated that when, especially shooting a show hybrid. Like it's just like your brain is like, why'd I change the skin? You know, like
right. Yeah, exactly.
The middle of the show.
Yeah. And then so now, you know, being out there with, I mean, is it great having like Matthew out there with you and just being able to capture like, I mean, dude, it's like a dream of mine to just have like 2 people out on the road. Yeah, I always do it all myself.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
my
do you do video and photo normally when you're on the road? Yeah.
But it's cool because it's like, I mean, with the Canon R5, I literally have a setting that I just hit a button and it's just like boom, boom. It's from video to photo like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, same.
So it's like I'll be like, okay, shoot the first half with photos and then I'm capturing clips on the second half of the song. Right. You know, that type of thing. You know, but it's especially with something like, you know, somebody like Carrie or something, it's like you're always running around trying to get a different angle and you're trying to, you know, pick off all that, you know, and it's just like I can't just be running around with my red and then set it down and then take some photos and then you know, stuff like that. I mean, I want to do that, but you know, it's just.
Have you ever tried using 2 SLRs?
I do. I have.
Oh, you have 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry if you said that already.
Yeah, I've got 2 R5s and I got an R5C, but I always take the R5s. I always have 2 of them, you know, on me running around.
I preferred the 5 over the 5C as well.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I mean, the obviously switching from photo to video on the R5C, it's like, okay, you got to wait.
It takes a while
wait like 20 seconds to switch it over, and especially 20 seconons is a long time.
I remember I was missing moments for sure. I had my Sony next to me though, so I'd always have to whip that out and just. Yeah. But
that's kind of it's funny. I've taken Dylan out. Dylan's a fantastic shooter. He came out on Carrie with me for a little while, so like he would do video, and I would just do photos.
What do you shoot on?
We used his Komodos for that.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I have fan stuff, but like for the Carrie stuff, we shot on the Komodos.
That's sweet.
Yeah, we throw a little Komodo with like a little pancake lens.
Oh,
and
nice.
He would use like the Ronin, and just some of the stuff, just like you know how it is with all the big production stuff. You know, that benefits us so well.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like if you're shooting a show at a festival, it's just. You know, with an opening act, it's so flat.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot going on, you know. So what else do you want to do, man? Like, I mean, I know you're out on the road a lot. Do you want to direct more? Do you want to, what's your future like? What do you want to do?
Man, I'm open to a lot of things. I mean, I definitely I want to keep working with Morgan as long as he'll keep me around. And you know,
It's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, that's what they say. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I want to I've been making a bunch of music more lately, and like just getting back more into that. I mean, I like directing, but I do think there's a lot of people doing that. Like, I'm not. That's not necessarily like my biggest like. I want to be a director. You know, I've never been like that, so I don't know. But it's cool. You know, I've directed.
Would you
some
ever
stuff.
shoot a video or anything for a director?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, DPing and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a couple buddies that do that. Do direct stuff, and I help them out anytime I can. You know.
Do you have any favorites in town, DPs or directors or anything?
Yeah. I mean,
anybody that
honestly,
like inspires you? Or
I mean, Chris Ashley. I mean, dude.
Yeah.
I remember meeting him, and who was he? What was the other dude's name that he was working with for a while?
Sam Aldridge.
Yeah. Dope. Also, Justin Clough, obviously. Fire.
Yep. Chris and I have done a lot together, man. I produced a lot of the music videos that he's done. Like what did we do? We did World on Fire. We did Wreckage with Nate Smith.
Sick.
We did Never Leave with Bailey Zimmerman.
Oh yeah, that was dope.
The first, the boxing one.
Yeah.
That was so much fun, man. Bailey's a trip, man.
Dude, he's awesome. Yeah. I love that guy.
Yeah. And then we did the first job that Chris and I ever worked on was Lainey Wilson, Things a Man Ought to Know. That's how we met.
She's awesome.
Yeah, so, and then it was funny because I have Chris on the podcast too, and we were talking about all our stuff, and we're like, man, we forgot to talk about. We did a Warren Zevers video together.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I got to give a shout out to Chris and Warren for that, and maybe we'll even play a little clip of that because. We forgot to talk about that on the last with Chris.
Yeah, totally. No, that
Chris
video
awesome.
was awesome.
Yeah,
that was on Warren Zevers' video. How do you say his last name?
Warren Zevers.
Zevers,
yeah. I actually DP'd that one.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's funny because I produced every Chris video pretty much, and then he asked me because I guess Sam Aldridge wasn't available, and he's like, "Dude, you want to DP this one?" I'm like, "Fuck, dude, I'd love to just step out of producing and directing, and get back to shooting." You know, so we had fun on that. It was really cool. But who else in town, DP wise? Who's some of your faves?
Dylan Rucker, he's really good. Tim Yoder, he's such a cool guy too.
Yeah, Tim's great.
Man, those are the two that I can think of. Daniel Verlet, he's awesome, just a good dude.
Yeah, I think Daniel's like, he's the shit, dude.
Yeah,
because he gets it.
Oh yeah.
You know, I feel like Steadicam ops need to kind of have that musical sense. You know what I mean? Because they need to know how to kind of flow with the music and kind of hit the beats, and you know how it is coming from music, you know. But Daniel's got that sense, you know. He's just got this natural thing. Because I hire him a lot on like my videos, and I'm just like sitting there going, we just kind of look at each other, and he's like, "I got you, dude."
That's awesome. It's that kind of. I love when you have like that connection with somebody.
Exactly. So
one of my other really good friends, I just kind of got David Gatewood. He works with JD Balvin sometimes, and Just Mike and those guys a little bit.
I've never heard of him.
He's awesome. He's he's newer to Nashville, so
gotcha.
I've been just hanging out with him a bunch more, trying to get him more connected with people.
So is he DP?
Yeah, he's DP'd some stuff, but he's kind of just doing more tour stuff and freelance stuff, some commercial stuff. But
gotcha.
Who's he
touring with?
Nobody right now. He's just been kind of doing some stuff with Just Mike and just a couple random things here and there.
To check that out. Dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. I can send you his Instagram.
Yeah, totally. One question that we've been giving everybody on this podcast, and this one's a fun one because it makes you think a little bit. If you are on the road for a weekend and you had one camera and one lens to take out on the road, and that's all you could shoot with the whole weekend, what would it be, and why?
That is tough. I mean, it's actually not. I'm really just trying to decide between lenses,
right?
Because Morgan has a tendency to use 7200 photos. I think they're just great for close-ups, and you just see everything you want to see there. But I think I would bring the 16. Oh man, that's tough.
Right.
Well, I would have to just go ahead and buy a 24-70 and call it a day, you know. But because I have the Tamron 28-75, but I kind of low-key hate that lens,
right?
Just because it's so cheap, and I decided to get it instead of the actual 24-70, and just I don't know, I don't really like it that much, but it is useful sometimes to have it. But yeah, I'd probably buy the new Sony G Master 24-70, and then that'd be it.
And
with the A7S III for sure.
Dude, it's so funny because everybody's answer is different.
Yeah.
It's wild. You know,
what's the wildest answer that you've heard?
I think the wildest one, but the one that doesn't surprise me the most is John Shearer.
What he said?
He said a Leica Q3.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't
He loves
like
that thing.
it doesn't
It's
surprise me because like, you know, he said that camera is very discreet. You know, it's not like this big thing. You can just put it kind of around your neck and you're capturing these moments, you know, backstage, because he does a lot of that stuff, you know, and a lot of the award stuff. And so it's not like an invasive type of thing with you got this big flash and you got all this stuff and you're like, because he says like, you know, you hit a flash and it's like they want to turn around and then take a photo, you know, or whatever, you know what I mean? So, but I feel like because John is just a photographer, you know, he doesn't do any video stuff. And so I feel like, you know, a lot of photographers and videographers that are like a mix, they'll choose like a 24-70. That's my choice. Yeah. My choice is a 24-70 with the R5, just because obviously photos and then video and then just having that, you know, 2.8 just kind of all the way through.
Yeah,
know,
and you can get some close, you can get some wide.
Exactly.
I mean, I always feel like it's never wide enough for me, so I was going to say the 16-35 because sometimes it's easier to move closer than it is to move farther back. Yeah. You don't have the room to do that, in my experience. So it would be a tough choice between the 16-35 and the 24-70 because I love that 16-35.
Yeah. I think, wasn't it Rachel that said 16-35?
She did say 16-35.
Yeah.
I was laughing because the wildest answer was hands down Daniel's answer. He said Canon R5 with a 24 prime.
Yeah, right?
He would say that. I know he would. Borlet, right?
Yeah. Daniel's a trip,
I think the last time I saw him, he was talking about how much he loved that 24 prime. And it is a dope lens, for sure.
Yeah.
But the other one that I think people sleep on a lot is the 24-105 from the F4.
Yeah.
I mean, that I haven't really even used it, but that lens looks so appealing to me.
You see what they got coming out, right?
The 2.8 one?
Yeah. 24-105, 2.8
that
all the way
I think
through.
will be a game changer.
That is going to be a huge game changer, especially for like people like what we do.
Oh yeah.
You know, having that one lens out on the road like that.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you're getting 2.8 at 105. That's insane.
Literally.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and especially for concert stuff, you know.
And obviously you can get that with a 7200, but it's just, you can't get back to 24
yeah, exactly
that quickly.
It's almost like just the middle of those two lenses combined. You know, except you don't get to get too far. But so what's the plan this year, man? You guys are doing a big old tour this year.
Yeah,
you guys got a lot of people out there with you too. Are you stoked?
Oh yeah, there's gonna be some new people, I'm sure, and just excited to be with the guys again. But
yeah. Anything up your sleeve that you're thinking about creatively that you want to do a little different this year?
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of dabbling with some things. I've been doing a lot of server maintenance this year because I store all the stuff that we shoot. I have a network server at my house, and so I have to upgrade some of that, and there's been a lot of security things I've been having to take care of with that this year. But yeah, I want to get more into some AI stuff. Yeah. I dabbled with that a little bit toward the end of last year. But sometimes that's hard to figure out where to fit in a project. So because I don't want to ever force something like that. But there's definitely some things. But
have you guys ever shot any like 360 stuff or anything?
Yeah, I have some 360 stuff. Back in the day, I think that would be a interesting thing to play with this year. Maybe get the new Insta360 one. That one looks pretty awesome. Yeah. I have a GoPro one, like one of the GoPro Max. I think
that thing's awesome.
It is cool.
It's great.
But there is a quality about it, and I just don't think is there. So it's really frustrating to try to mix it in with clean footage.
I feel like that's actually a really tough kind of camera for concert stuff, especially like in an arena because of the dark. It's just so dark. It just doesn't pick up.
The only way to get cool angles, like there's somebody that filmed me doing it, because this was all before COVID that I used that at shows. And I had talked to Morgan beforehand. He was cool, but I'm out there on stage with a 40-foot pole and this thing going over his head on the catwalk. Like, there's a picture or video of me doing that from a fan. It just looks so obtrusive. Like, I don't want to do that, you know?
Yeah. Dude, you got to give me that video to put it in.
I need to find it. If I find it, I'll message it to you for sure.
That's funny. So you guys are in stadiums then this year?
Yeah, football stadiums.
Yeah, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Honestly, I'm pretty excited for the first one because that's Indiana, so my hometown.
Sick.
Lucas Oil Stadium, 2 nights.
Man.
I remember when they built it. Like, that's crazy.
Damn, dude. Damn. Are you a Colts fan?
Used to be, for sure.
Yeah.
When Peyton Manning, Tony Dungy, and Edgerrin James, like Reggie Wayne, like those are the boys.
So you Pacers fan then too?
Again, used to be more than I would say now. So yeah, I mean, I guess
it's a sports town, man.
Yeah,
big sports town.
I'm not so team oriented as I used to be. Like
Right.
I just kind of, after I did fantasy for a few years, fantasy football, it was kind of like I got so used to just looking at everything.
Yeah, right. Tell me, so we'll kind of shift a little bit, but like, you know, when you're out on the road, it's like, you know, I see this, you know, all the time when I'm out there, but it's like you kind of find yourself in spots that you're just like, holy shit, how did I get here?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like you're just like, you may be surrounded by like a sports star or that's at a show or like another like person of interest or whatever. If you ever found yourself like in a moment that you're just like, dude, this is insane.
I mean, yeah, totally. I think that's definitely a blessing and a perk of the job, you know,
Right.
Depending on how you look at it. But yeah, I mean, definitely pretty crazy moments for sure.
Any good ones?
Oh yeah.
It's really funny because I know like we can't really talk too much about stuff because of all of NDAs and stuff. I almost called this podcast on the edge of the NDA.
Yeah. That might scare some people away.
Yeah, right. So if there's any stories that you know that are safe and stuff like that, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, one that always stands out to me that I love is I smoked weed with Wiz Khalifa. So it's always love that.
Right.
My younger self would be proud.
Right.
Man, there's been a lot of cool moments, man. I mean, we just, man, I just don't want to say too much, but
no, I get it, dude. I totally
there's some
get it.
recent stuff that's been pretty cool, but it was cool. I didn't get to go, but it was cool for Morgan. He went up and was in the Drake music video.
Oh yeah. Nice.
I was, when Cody, his buddy, was telling me about it, I was like, man, one time I'm pissed you didn't call me,
right?
dude.
Right. But I mean, have you ever found yourself in a spot where it's like, you know, Morgan's like, dude, you gotta take a photo of me and so, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But Morgan's pretty chill about it. Like if I'm not around, he'll just use a phone or something. But it's just, you know, we'll always try to get stuff like that.
Because I always find myself in spots that I'm just like, man, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
It's so
oh,
wild.
totally. I mean,
It's so crazy to me.
be backstage and somebody walks and you're like, oh wow,
yeah,
you're here now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm, you know, it's like country artists and musicians and stuff. I'm just kind of like, you know, it's cool. We work with them, you know. But it's like sports. I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Shane Gillis?
No.
He's a comedian.
No.
So he came out.
Yes, what I'm saying.
Yeah,
no.
he's great. Yeah, he came out to, I think it was in Texas, and he came out with Joe Rogan's audio guy, Jamie.
Gotcha.
And dude, they were awesome. I think I talked to Jamie for like an hour,
Really?
and we haven't even talked since at all. But I was like, I wish I could be friends with that guy.
Right.
He was so cool.
That's awesome.
And I never knew what he looked like, so it was cool to see the Jamie. You know?
Yeah, that's so funny.
And Shane's so funny. Yeah, yeah, dude, so good.
So obviously, let's go back to like you in 2015 to where you're at now, man. What would your younger self say to yourself, man?
He'd be laughing at me for working with a country artist for sure. I didn't grow up like loving country. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like a big country fan. I was more into rock and hip hop.
Yeah.
But Morgan's like, the second I heard his whiskey glasses when I was driving down to meet him, I was like, I was going through a breakup and like I was like, I can relate to this for like the first time with country. Like, and then I realized he was my age, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's just singing about real shit. Like this is nothing I don't experience, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 2015, man, I was finishing college, I guess then. Yeah. I have a music technology is what it's called degree and a minor in CIT, and I was just working at the Apple store, just like, I'm going to be a musician. You know?
Did you ever think you'd be where you're at now?
No.
That's wild.
I did.
It?
The one thing I can say is I wanted to tour for sure, but I thought it would be more the capacity of like playing shows, because that's all I had known was playing guitar or whatever on the road. But
have you ever gone up on like a sound check and played with the band at all?
No, I mean honestly, I love playing guitar, but I wouldn't consider myself like, I can't play like they're playing. I need to practice. I'd say that. So I should though. Dom would totally let me, but I go up and strum the chords for him. Like sometimes that's fun.
Right.
Like.
Yeah. Do you ever like when you're out there, are you on the stage and like running around and all that stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes. I mean, I try not to spend too much time up there. But it's, definitely some of the coolest moments are up there.
That's what I love about Tanner, man. It's like you're watching Hardy videos and you just see him running around, man. It's wild.
I think Tanner takes it too far. I love him. But dude, at the last show, like, Tanner's one of my homies for sure. I say that with love.
Yeah, same.
I think it was the last show for us of the year. He'll remember this. And I was trying, there was a bunch of stuff happening that day. And, like, I was just trying to not to piss anybody off and, like, kill it and everything. And, he ran on stage. He got me and Matt and him to go on stage at the same time, and like he was like, "Dude, it'll be funny," and like it was. It was a good thing, but I was just like trying to get a specific shot, and he was like not wanting to go in the crowd, and I was like, "You just want to be on stage, dude.
Right.
Like, this isn't about shooting video right now.
Right.
You're trying to have your moment, and I get it, but."
Dude, Tanner's a trip, man. I met Tanner when he was out with Low Cash.
Yeah.
With Chris Young, and
because he came right after me with Low Cash.
Yeah, and I remember him and I just like totally hit it off, dude. It was just like it was almost
How can you not with that guy? He's awesome.
He was like a little brother, man. You know, and him and I just like, I told him, I said, dude, take my number if you ever have any questions. Just seriously, just hit me up. Let me know if you need anything. And man, there was just times where he'd just reach out and he'd be like, dude, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to get paid? Like, what's salary, and stuff like that. And it's like, so just, and then I brought him out sometimes for like music videos. He'd just come out and just kind of hang on set and just kind of see what was going on, I just love that dude, man.
Me too, man.
Yeah. And it's funny because as of right now, we've shot you're our 11th person.
Sweet.
And we've got 2 more, and one of them's Tanner. So it's like, I feel like Tanner's the last one. So it's like, that's going to be pretty fun to
have him explain what aperture is.
Oh, I can't wait. Make a note of that, dude. I can't wait.
I want to hear his answer to that.
Right. But yeah, he's dope as shit, man. So obviously, you've become successful at doing this, dude. I mean, like you're doing it. You're on the road, dude. You're, like I keep saying, you're out with the biggest country act right now, and you guys are selling out stadiums, multiple dates, and it's like massive.
It's still hard to wrap my head around,
dude. It's crazy. It's so crazy, but it's so amazing, and I love that. I absolutely love it. What would you give, like, any advice to like people that are coming in? I mean, we get DMs all the time, and it's like, from what you've learned, what kind of advice would you give to people?
Man, it's kind of the same thing every time. It's like, for me, and I can only speak from my own experiences, I think it happens differently for everybody for sure, but the one thing that I think is always a theme is just go out and meet people, whatever that looks like. For me, moving to Nashville, every single gig, every single thing I've done has been because I went to a party or a bar and was just hanging out with people. Yeah. And it wasn't even about getting drunk. It was just, you're hanging out, having a couple drinks, and you just networking. You get along. Yeah. It's like, you don't even think of it like networking because you're having so much fun, right? Because it's not about work. It's not about finding work. If you go out trying to find work, I don't really see a lot of people having success with that. It's just going out trying to have fun, and then you find people you interact with well, and then they want to work with you because they're like, oh, this guy's not weird,
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing we always say. It's like, don't be an asshole, don't be weird.
Oh, it's tough, man. I mean? There are some video guys, that are kind of weird.
But I know, right? I know. But and then also any advice like gear wise, for the craft, like.
I mean, that's always such a personal thing. It's like, I do video and photo, so I swear by the A7S III, because if I was just doing video, I probably would have a bigger camera, and if I was just doing photo, I'd probably have a Canon. So, but these are all personal preferences, you know. So, I mean, just try things out. I think it's the biggest thing. Rentals are something that I think are overlooked a lot, and
that's huge.
Really, a couple $100 can save you thousands in gear if you really are trying stuff out strategically and keeping track of what you think.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. That's great. That's a great idea too. I never really thought about that.
Last year, that's what I did. I tried out all the other Sonys. I did for a second body, like the A7 IV, the A7 R4, the R5, the R5C, I tried it. Maybe the R6 I tried too, the Canon one. But it was fun every weekend. It's only a couple $100. Just try a new camera body out.
Yeah, exactly. So down the line, man, what else is happening after that?
We'll see, man. I mean,
see what happens. We're at the beginning of 2024. Dude, it's gonna be a great year for you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get back to rehearsals and see everybody, and just kind of catching what the vibe's gonna look like. There's so many things I wish I could say about the show that's gonna be this year, but I can't say it's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah, so definitely.
So get out there and see David.
We got to bring all you guys out sometime.
I know, dude, you know, that'd be dope.
Nashville's always a tough one, just with everybody. But if there's ever any other city that you know of that you want to go to, like, feel free to let me know.
I would come shoot with you, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome.
That'd be sick, man. Get some good stuff.
Yeah.
David, dude, thank you so much for coming out, man.
Thanks for having me.
I love getting to finally meeting you, dude.
Yeah,
and just having just, you know, bullshit conversations.
We're gonna have to do some
having some fun. I know we have to, dude. Dude, great job, brother.
Dude, thanks, dog.
Man.
You too.
We got David Lehr from Morgan Wallen here.
That's a wrap.